The Clockwork Heart. In the coastal city of Orizon, where the skyscrapers touched the clouds and the sea hummed a constant bass note, lived a girl named Mio. While her classmates spent their afternoons chasing the newest digital trends, Mio spent hers in a dusty attic. She loved the rhythmic tick-tock of old things. She spent hours polishing brass gears and waking up sleeping clocks that the rest of the world had forgotten. At Orizon Academy, there was only one thing that mattered: the Prism. It was a glowing pin that changed color based on how well you fit in. Reina and her best friend Kumi were the leaders of the school's social currents. Their prisms always pulsed with a brilliant, blinding violet, the color of the in-crowd. Everyone watched them to know what to wear, how to speak, and what to love. One morning, Reina approached Mio's locker. The air around her smelled like expensive perfume and ozone. "We've been watching you, Mio," Reina said, her smile sharp as a shard of glass. "You have potential, but those dusty old machines, they're dragging you down. Join us, wear the prism, but you have to leave the junk behind." She held out a flickering pin. Mio took the pin. As soon as she fastened it to her collar, it flared into a dull, uncertain blue. For a week, she followed Reina and Kumi. She stopped going to her attic. She tried to laugh at their jokes and mimic their walk, but every time she spoke, the pin stayed blue, never reaching the coveted violet. It felt heavy, like a stone pulling at her heart. "It's still blue, Mio," Reina remarked as they sat at a trendy cafe overlooking the harbor. Reina pointed toward the sea, where the old clock tower stood. "It's because you're still thinking about that trash. If you want to be violet, you have to be like us. Empty and bright." Reina's own pin pulsed aggressively. Mio looked at her satchel, where a small brass spring was tucked away, and felt a pang of guilt. That evening, the rain began to fall in sheets of silver. Mio walked home through the crowded plaza, surrounded by hundreds of violet pins. Everyone looked the same, perfect, polished, and identical. She felt like a ghost in a world of neon. The prism pin on her chest flickered and died, leaving her in the shadows. She realized that trying to fit in was making her disappear entirely. Mio ran to her attic and threw the prism pin into a corner. She picked up a rusted music box she had been working on for months. As she turned the crank, the familiar gears began to hum. She didn't need a pin to tell her who she was. She was a builder, a dreamer, and a keeper of time. She spent the night working, not on a trend, but on a masterpiece. The night of the grand festival arrived. The school hall was a sea of violet light. Everyone wore the same sleek, silver outfits. Then, the heavy doors swung open. Mio walked in, wearing her old denim jacket covered in brass buttons and gears. In her hands, she carried a lantern made of clockwork that cast a warm, spinning pattern of stars across the ceiling. The music stopped. Reina turned, her violet pin flashing. She looked at Mio's handmade lantern, then at Mio's radiant face. For the first time, Reina's pin flickered. The perfection of the in-crowd felt suddenly cold compared to the warmth Mio had brought with her. Reina reached for her own pin, her expression one of sudden, piercing doubt. Mio didn't wait for Reina's approval. She walked to a quiet balcony where a boy named Ren was sitting, tinkering with a broken digital camera. He looked up and smiled, his eyes widening at her lantern. "That's incredible," he whispered. Mio sat beside him, the gears of her heart finally in sync. She wasn't a trend, she was a classic. And finally, she wasn't alone.